continue on from the previous part when we were talking about the Yale Kimiko, which is the original people who were here in this area, what is now known as Maryland, before the settlers came. The highest point in this state that was carved out is 3,360 feet. Now, we'll get to that and the importance of the highest point, because the elevation of of Jufra, which is in what is now known as Gambia, is the elevation of 82 feet. Dealing with right down to the modern times, because we're here as far as, you know, on the ground. This is dealing with flight, and we're dealing with light years, and we're dealing with the speed of sound, which is, you know, 1,120 feet per second. We're dealing with the speed of light, which is 186,000 miles per second. So I want to conclude with today, it being August 11th, because today is the 50-year anniversary of the independence of the Jumhuriyet Chad, which is also known as Chad, from its independence from France. And now Chad, of course, is a landlocked country in what is now known as Africa. It is surrounded by Libya, the Sudan, the Central African Republic, the Cameroon, and Nigeria. And it's a significant country because it's right in the center of Africa, and it's, of course, surrounded by all these important, influential countries. But when they became independent on August 11th, which is, of course, 48 hours before the independence of the Central African Republic by France, that Ngarta Tumbabaye, who was a leader of the trade union and was a teacher as well as an activist, who was born on June 15, 1918, and returned to our ancestors on April the 13th, 1975, which of course was the 53rd birthday of Julius Nyerere, who was the first president of Tanzania. But Ngarta Tumbabaye, he became the first president of what is now known as Chad. And he was an important, influential leader, not only in African history, but in world history. And it's important that we start getting in tune with our African leaders, as well as Asian leaders, as well as leaders who are in what is now known like New Zealand, who descend from the Maori people, from our leaders in South America, because this is what influential people such as Malcolm X, Alex Haley, Professor John Henry Clark, this is what they want us to do. This is what they want us to teach our children. And this is what, you know, current leaders out there today, such as the Farrakhan's of the world, they want us to be influenced and get into international trade, get into international business. Sisters like Mother Tanetta Muhammad, who want us to learn and to study other cultures outside of our own great culture here, which produced the likes of hip-hop, in which the whole world, if you was to look at one culture and what the whole world looks at and vibrates off of and feeds off of and steals from and gets energy from, it's going to be our culture right here, who look at ourselves as however we want to identify ourselves with. Black, African American, Afro American, whether we just choose to use, a certain title. But the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, and also the current, Taifa Shah Islam Kiangozi, current leader of the Nation of Islam, they encourage us to kind of come up out of these titles, because these titles, they divide us, and they subliminally encourage us to start to look at us as a group, as in one group possibly being better than the other one, or one group being right and the other group being wrong. But this lecture being dropped today on August 11th, of course, was just right after, which yesterday I was looking at some writings on the internet, and it said that David Wolper, who was born on January 11th, 1928, who produced Roots, which was of course written by Alex Haley, who was born on August 11th, 1921. He turned 44 when the Watts Uprising happened, which was 8 years before the Back to School Jam by DJ Kool Herc, which was of course 37 years ago today. But David Wolper said that yesterday that he had returned to his ancestors, and not only him producing Roots, but it said that he produced the Thornbirds, North and South, LA Confidential, and a classic film that's known as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And he directed the 1959 documentary film known as The Race for Space, which was narrated by Mr. Mike Wallace. And I'm sure Mr. Mike Wallace and other people in the FBI know that on August the 16th this year, 2010, will be the 88th birthday of Louis Lomax, who of course was the first African American television journalist who was very influential in that year of 1959, when of course he produced the documentary series called The Hate that Hate produced, which of course starred none other than the top student of the Kiangozi of the Taifa Shah Islam at that time, Elijah Muhammad, his top student, which was Malcolm X. And of course, on July the 30th, 1970, in a city called Santa Rosa, New Mexico, Louis Lomax was killed in a car accident when mysteriously his brakes failed. And of course, at that time, he was investigating the assassination of Malcolm X, which of course he had serious documents that was leading to involvement with none other than the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which was of course at that time headed by J. Edgar Hoover, who took over as the first director of the FBI on 3/22, March 22nd, 1935. So I want to conclude this segment. I want to give some shout outs and peace and blessings to brothers such as up north, like Brother King Larry, who sends positive vibrations out there, has serious influential music that's going to be very important to us, not only here, but throughout the whole Umwangu. Big up to some man Patu, who's out there holding it down as far as in New York. Everybody that's out there throughout the whole Umwangu, in this states here, all the way in Chicago, New York, California, up in the Northwest, in Seattle. There's the largest city that's named after a famous Indian chief, Chief Seattle, to all the way down, all my brothers and sisters in Texas, all the way in Arizona, all throughout the Midwest, all the way down to the bottoms of Florida, to the West Indies, and my new friends in Malaysia, over in Africa currently as we speak. Got much love for y'all. Peace and blessings.